The most dangerous beliefs are the ones we don't even know we are carrying. We don't walk around all the time thinking consciously, I'm not enough, but our lives reveal it. The way we hold back, the way we stay in the second row, the way we dim our light instead of letting it shine. But when we are brave enough to face those hidden beliefs, it's not only healing us, the people around us can feel it too. Our children can feel it. And all the generations that will come after us are healed by it too. Today, I want to share a client story with you. Let's call him David. And David's journey is about one of the deepest hidden beliefs so many of us carry without often even knowing it. It's the belief, I'm not enough. And how healing this belief didn't just change his life, it changed the way he shows up for his family too. When David first came to me, he wasn't even aware he carried that belief. He just felt it in his life. He always felt like he was in the second row, always doubting himself. And as his wife puts it so brilliantly, it was like he would never bring all the horsepowers onto the street. He was living with a silent, unconscious weight, and he always felt like the second one, less than, never quite enough. And for David, opening up was hard. But despite that discomfort, he was brave enough to go beneath the surface. Now, in our Dive Deep session, we work directly with his subconscious, bypassing the conscious mind, which was only carrying out the old beliefs and programs. So, and that's how we went back to the root cause of his problem. It was a memory that came up when David was just 2 years old and his baby brother had just been born. Now, in this scene, when little David was standing in front of the baby, he was thinking, why is he here? Am I not enough? That one interpretation, made by a 2-year-old, shaped his whole life. He lived as if that was the truth, that he was less than, not deserving, not enough. But in this session, light came into darkness. It was so beautiful when he suddenly saw so clearly, well, actually, this was never the truth of who I am. It was only the interpretation of a child trying to make sense of something it couldn't understand. And in that moment, with that realization, the lie lost its power. The harmful false belief was dissolving, and what surfaced was the truth. I am enough, and I always was. He realized that that old thought had only ever been a misunderstanding, the interpretation of a 2-year-old baby boy, but not the truth of who he is. Now, in the weeks that followed, through coaching and practicing in his everyday life, he began to walk in this truth, like learning to walk with a new pair of shoes, or strengthening the muscle. And he described it as if the scales had fallen from his eyes. He suddenly saw everything differently through the lens of an adult and not through the lens of a wounded child. Now he realized more and more his worth had always been the same. He saw suddenly clearly again and he felt free. And then something so beautiful happened. Soon after our session, his 5-year-old daughter, who was also adjusting to the arrival of her baby sister, who was already, I think, 2 months old, and she came to him and she said, why is she here? Am I not enough? The exact same words David had remembered saying in his regression. And of course, in that moment, he was just stunned. But this time, instead of being triggered, instead of panicking, he sat with her. He gave her space. He listened. He met her words with compassion, understanding, and love. In our next session, David told me this story and he asked, what if she ends up carrying the same wound her whole life like I did? I don't want her to suffer like I did. And then I asked him a question I learned from Gabor Mate. What I said was, your daughter is now 5 and you are in your 30s. When did your parents begin asking this kind of questions, doing this kind of work, investing into their healing? And he paused and said, never. So I asked, and what would it have meant for you if they had? His answer came quietly, everything. I wouldn't have grown up believing I was less than. I wouldn't have carried that shame for simply being me and for feeling my feelings. And that was it. I didn't need to add anything. There was nothing to say. The answer said everything. And then the realization came even more strongly. The difference is huge. As a child, David had to swallow his feelings. He learned that if he spoke them, he'd be punished or shamed. So he carried them in silence, alone. And that's how shame became part of his story. But his daughter, she feels safe to express. She can say what hurts, she can cry, she can be angry, and still knows that she's loved. And that makes all the difference. Because feelings that are expressed and met with love don't turn into swallowed, suppressed pain carried alone in silent shame. They rise, they are felt, and then they dissolve. And of course, don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean that his daughter won't have any challenges in her own life. Of course, she will. We all do. She will go through her lessons and her learnings. But she will not carry the same heartbreak David carried. Because he healed not just for himself, but also for her and for all the generations to come. And this is the truth for all of us. First, the harmful beliefs we created in childhood were never the truth. They were simply interpretations of a younger self, trying to understand something they couldn't understand. And when we bring light to those old stories, the dark filter disappears. It dissolves. We begin to see clearly again, to feel free again. And not only do we live free, the second thing is we gift that freedom to everyone around us and especially to those who come after us. So the old cycle of fear and shame ends with us and a new cycle begins, one of love, one of freedom, and one of truth. If you found this video helpful, then please like it and don't forget to subscribe. It really supports my work and it helps me to reach even more people who might need this transformational work. Thank you so much for being here with me. I'm sending you so much love and see you in the next video.